Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 19th of July. Today we have some interesting updates, so let's start. First, we are going to start with the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation report. There was some interesting stories in this report, and the most important one is that according to their rocket strikes, the Russians attacked the area on the north of Slaviansk. If you take a look at the map of this position, to be more precise, they attacked the positions of 81st Airborne Brigade, their headquarters, this brigade, and according to this strike, the Ukraine lost around 60 soldiers and 7 armored vehicles. Furthermore, they lost their depot of ammunition and their near Dalina and their headquarters in Kramatorsk. So this is the 81st Air Assault Brigade. During the previous 24 hours, this brigade was under attack. They lost soldiers and they lost their headquarters in Kramatorsk. And as you can see, this brigade is located, stands right in front of the Russians, who are trying to push the Ukrainians in the area on the bridgehead on the front line between Mazanovka, Krasnopolye, Dalina. As far as I understand, this brigade is located in Sherwood Forest. And of course, this is the first brigade who is in front of the Russians, and they need to crack this brigade to continue their offensive operation towards Slaviansk. Another important update was about the National Battalion Pravy Sector, or in English, Right Sector, we can say. If you remember, during this week, the Ukrainian forces moved some reinforcement from this right sector brigade towards Ugledarska power plant, toward this area. As you know, there are very heavy clashes there. There are 72nd Mechanized Brigade, 13th Mechanized Brigade in this area, and there were very heavy clashes. These two brigades is already reduced heavily, so that's why the Ukrainian forces decided to move some reinforcement from right sector. And during this week, if you remember, somewhere on Friday, on the 15th, Friday 15th, there was like a rocket attack, and according to that rocket attack, this right sector in this area lost around 300 soldiers and around 30 armored vehicles. In this report, this morning report, the Russians said that they attacked town Kamyshovacha in Zaporozhye, in Zaporozhye region, in this area, and by that attack they managed to destroy around 200 soldiers. So we can say that that was some reserves in Kamyshovacha, who was maybe in some kind of resting, like taking their time, were prepared before some kind of rotation process. But the Russians attacked, they killed a lot of people. And this morning we got report from the Russians that forces from DPR, who was located in Dolomitna, in the north of Gorlovka, started their offensive operation in the south, and by noon time, at noon, they managed to establish control over half of Novoluganska, this area. So as you can see, everything is like logical, because there was like few impacts before, few attacks towards mechanized brigades, then there was reinforcement. The reinforcement was reduced as well. Then the Russians reduced some reserves, and after that they started their offensive operation, and by noontime they took Novoluganska. And some Russian sources are saying that because of like absence of reinforcement, absent of reserves, maybe even by this evening they will be able to start some offensive and storm operation towards Ugledarska power plant. This is our area, and this, like we see, like storm of the village, and this is our power plant. So this, like, everything is very logical. If we're talking about other losses from the Ukrainian side, they was just destroying some headquarters of some forces. And one of the most important, one of the most interesting is that there was this one, 16 Mechanized Brigade. As you can see, this Mechanized Brigade is under very heavy fire from the Russian side, these 16 Mechanized. During the previous week, they were reducing their soldiers, and if we're talking about today and the day before yesterday, and yesterday, they destroyed 2 headquarters, one in Novolugansk, another one in Kirova. This 16 Mechanized, I'll remind you one more time, is located on the south, this one, 16 motorized according to this map, and this is one of the brigade who was very seriously reinforced with NLAW systems and with other systems that allows these brigades on the north of this area from Kherson to start offensive operation towards the south of Ukraine. Furthermore, you know that yesterday there was another strike against Novokakhovka, and maybe you know that there was one important authority from the Russia, Kiriyenko. He takes very high position in the Russian authorities, and by the time he was there, the Ukrainians attacked this area with the HIMARS, and there was some explosions and so maybe it was some kind of a revenge to this attack. There was other few depots were destroying on the front lines, but now let's talk about the Russian losses. Yesterday and during the previous weeks, as soon as I started to discuss the Ukrainian losses, I got a lot of questions. Why don't we discuss the Russian losses? This is the Russian losses, and I will try to zoom. The thing is why I don't use the Ukrainian information about the Russian losses is because, as I see, they take their number from nowhere. We don't have any explanation about the brigades, about destination, about territories where they deal damage and the Russians has losses. They're just giving us number every day. If we're talking about the Russians, for example, there are all their losses. If they stay about losses, we have like some kind of process. First, we see, let's say, rocket attack. If you remember, yesterday we discussed some rocket attack towards the Ugledarska power plant, and I told you that I suppose that in a day or two we're gonna see something in this area connected with the 13th Mechanized Brigade, let's say. But as we see, there was an attack, but the Russians reported that right sector had losses, not even in this area, but maybe there are some mistakes, who knows. So first we see some rocket attack, and then we see some videos and photos of the fire, of explosions and so on. After that, we see some disposition, and we can understand what kind of forces might be attacked, which kind of forces might have losses and so on. And after that, we have report, and according to the report, we see the losses in this or that brigade. And everything is logical, everything is detailed, and we understand that even if the Russians have some speculation in numbers, let's say, for example, today they gave us a report that they killed around 200 for soldiers from right sector, but we can see in the past, the every single action that leads to these reports, like rockets attack, fire, and so on, the location of brigade. But if we're talking about the Ukrainian side, we just have numbers. And to tell the truth, if you want, of course, I can include this number just for better understanding of the picture. For example, we can compare at least the ratio. If we're talking about the soldiers, you see that according to the Ukrainian report, the Russians lost around 100 soldiers during the previous 24 hours, right? But if we're talking about, for example, the Russian report, and we see that during just Tuesday, today, they lost around 260 soldiers, 200 soldiers from right sector and 60 soldiers from 81st Air Assault Brigade, and it's just from the rocket attacks. We're not discussing the losses on the during the ground battle. So as you can see, the ratio is very high. Even if we calculate the loss of these 100 soldiers, if we will divide these 100 soldiers, let's say not like divide, but it's like 1 to 3. So one Ukrainian soldier means 3. One Russian soldier means 3 Ukrainian soldiers. And we are talking about offensive operation. Everything should be like totally opposite. But in this military special operation, we see that the war military science sometimes doesn't work in military special operation in Ukraine. So of course, let's discuss. I think that at least to compare the numbers, to compare the losses among the soldiers, I think that we can use this information as well, just for better understanding of the situation. Now let's talk about the progress one more time. about the differences on the map. If we're talking about the West Sources map, we see that Grigorievka is under the Ukrainian control, but I have already marked this area in red color with the blue border, means that this territory is under the Russians, and this information confirmed by the Russian side. If we're talking about the Sporna, the same situation. This territory, according to the Ukrainian forces, is still under their control, but if we're talking about the Russian sources map, this territory is under the Russians, under Russian control. There is no changes on the line between Solidar, Yakovlevka, Belogorovka, Berestova. I forgot to update the area on the east side of Solidar. According to the Russian sources, Tryapovka and Novokamyanka is under their control, under the Russians. Let's take a look. Yes, this one. Sorry, not this one. This one. Tryapovka, Novokamyanka, this area is under Russian control, and if we're talking about the West Sources map, this territory is considered as the Ukrainians. Today we got another report from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. They reported that the Russians continued their offensive operation near Pokrovsk in front of Bakhmut, and they achieved some success. They didn't talk about the real numbers of square meters, but they told that the Russians achieved success on the south of town Pokrovsk. So I softly marked this area under Russian control. Maybe they control just the south part on the bottom of H32 road. Maybe they control these entire 2 blocks, but they control everything or establish some fire positions, some control position in the south of town Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk is a very big town that moves from the north, this one, and continues on the south. So, and they told that south is under the Russians. So let's say that this area is under the Russians. If you're talking about Klinova, Klinova is already under the Russian control for a very long time, this one, and there was some confirmation and so on. And the most important part is the south. According to the Russian sources, at noontime they established control over the south of Novolugansk, and we understand that that happened just because of the fact that the Ukrainians don't have reserves, don't have forces just to reinforce this area, because there are very heavy clashes there and they have a lot of losses on the south in this small cauldron. Even if we take a look at this map, if we're talking even about the West Sources map, we see that it's some kind of a bag, it's some kind of small cauldron, it's already operational encirclement. There is just one way to evacuate from this area, and we understand that there is no reason, it's impossible to keep this area without losses. Maybe the Russians even are not planning to continue their offensive operations towards Kadema because they see that the Ukrainians are bringing more and more reinforcements to this area and they're reducing them more and more. So maybe they're just waiting the time when the Ukrainians are going to be out of reserves and out of forces they can use to recover this area. Furthermore, there was another important updates from town that located on the front line, like Seversk, like Zvanovka, like Bakhmut, and so on. You see, according to the Russian sources, people, the locals who are living there, already accepted that sooner or later these towns will be under the Russians, under Russian control. So that's why they are not planning to leave this town, because they understand that sooner or later it's going to happen. Furthermore, maybe they think, maybe they know something more than we know, that as I see, they are not planning even to hide. They just wait when the Ukrainians are going to retreat. And because of that, the Ukrainians start mobilization among civilians in this area. They are taking every single man who can hold weapon, and they're like sending them these forces right in to the edge, to the front lines. And this is not very good, because even these people expect the Russians from day to day, and from this point of view, we see that maybe it's not very fair to the people, to the locals who are living there, because the Ukrainians are trying to force the locals to fight against the Russians, but locals, as I told you, has already accepted the situation that sooner or later this territory is going to fall and they will start living under new flag, under DPR or Russia, who knows. So this is the situation on this front line. Furthermore, there was some update, some confirmation that some Swedish forces were killed in Lysychansk, Rubizhnoye. There was a photo of that, and some confirmation about this fact as well. As you can see, there are not much updates. The Russians are grinding, are pushing the Ukrainians all along the front line, trying to break through on the Naus in direction of Kurdyumovka, trying to break through in the middle line in direction of Solidar, and trying to break through the front line in Siversk. But the Ukrainians from their side are moving more and more forces. We can understand Zelensky, who are talking about the Russians' military experts and their sources. They're saying that Zelensky gave an order to hold this area as long as possible, and the main idea is the meeting that is going to be tomorrow in Ramstein, and on that meeting the West countries will decide what to do next, what kind of type of weapon to give to Ukrainians and so on. So that's why, of course, they need to keep the territory, they need to save the territory before this meeting, and by that they are able to show the West countries that we are still able to control the situation, we are still able to fight against the Russians. So that's why you can give us more and more weapon. And that's it for today. Military Summer channel remind you that we condemns any violence in Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye bye.